The stars burned red through the bridge windows of the UCS Indomitable. Commander Dae-jung watched another human ship explode in the distance. That made 17. Only 6 remained now, his ship included. The Krell were winning, and everyone knew it. "Commander, the Horizon just lost power," Lieutenant Jiwoo reported from her tactical station. Her voice stayed steady, but her hands shook slightly on the controls. "They're drifting. No shields, no weapons." Dae-jung closed his eyes for a moment. The Horizon carried 3,000 crew members. Good people. People with families waiting back home. Except there was no home anymore. The Krell had burned most of the human colonies already. Earth itself was a dead rock. Its cities turned to glass by orbital bombardment 6 months ago. "Can we reach them?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. They're too far, and we have our own problems." Jiwoo's screen flashed red with warnings. 20 Krell fighters inbound. Our shields are down to 40%. The Krell didn't waste time. Green plasma bolts lit up the space around the Horizon. The defenseless ship broke apart slowly, pieces spinning away into the black. Dae-jung forced himself to watch. These people deserved to be remembered, even if there was no one left to remember them. "All ships, this is Admiral Taemin." The old man's voice crackled over the fleet channel. His flagship, the Endeavor, was burning. Atmosphere vented from dozens of holes in its hull. "I'm ordering a full retreat. Jump to any safe coordinates. Scatter and survive." "Admiral, we can still fight," someone said. It sounded like Captain Yun from the destroyer Defiant. "No." Taemin's voice was firm. "I won't let more people die for a battle we've already lost. This is my final order as fleet commander. Run, live, make sure humanity survives somewhere, somehow." The channel went quiet. Then, one by one, ships began to disappear in flashes of light as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. The Defiant went first, then the cruiser Steadfast. 4 ships left now. 3, 2. "Commander?" Jiwoo looked at him. "Orders?" Dae-jung stared at the tactical display. The Krell fleet still numbered over 200 ships, massive vessels, each one bristling with weapons. They had come to finish what they started, to erase humanity completely from the galaxy. "Sir, we need to jump now," urged Kyung-soo, the chief engineer, through the intercom. "Our reactor is damaged. If we stay much longer, we won't have power for FTL." Before Dae-jung could answer, the Endeavor exploded. The flagship simply came apart in a ball of white fire. Admiral Taemin was gone. The man who had led humanity's fleet for 20 years, who had won battles against impossible odds, who had saved millions of lives. Gone in an instant. "Commander." Jiwoo's shout snapped him back to focus. "I'm receiving a tight beam transmission. It came from the Endeavor just before the end. It's encrypted with your personal codes. Put it through." His command console beeped, and a file appeared. Dae-jung opened it with shaking fingers. Inside were coordinates to a location in deep space far beyond any mapped system. Below the numbers, a short message in Admiral Taemin's handwriting. "Dae-jung, if you're reading this, I'm dead, and the fleet is destroyed. Don't blame yourself. We did what we could. These coordinates lead to something called the Forge. It's humanity's last secret, known only to the highest command. Old Earth military found it 300 years ago, but kept it hidden. They called it the Vault Protocol. I don't know exactly what's there, but the records say it's a weapon. Maybe our only chance. The activation phrase is, 'Wake the sleeper. Use it wisely. Make them pay for what they've done to us.'" Taemin Dae-jung read the message 3 times. A secret weapon? Hidden for 3 centuries? It sounded impossible. But then again, 6 months ago, he would have said it was impossible for humanity to lose Earth. "The Krell are breaking through our defensive line," Jiwoo announced. "We have maybe 2 minutes before they're in firing range." He made his decision. "Kyung-soo, can you get us one more jump?" "Maybe," the engineer replied. "But the reactor is unstable. We might not survive it." "We won't survive staying here either. Plot a course to these coordinates." Dae-jung sent the data to the navigation station. Maximum speed. Bora, the young navigator, gasped when she saw the numbers. Sir, these coordinates are in the deep dark. There's nothing out there. No stars, no planets, nothing. Just do it, Bora. Trust me. The Indomitable shook as Krell plasma fire struck their weakening shields. Red alerts blared across every station. The lights flickered. Somewhere below, Daejung heard the sound of metal tearing. Shields at 15%, Jiwoo said. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. We've lost weapons control. Jump drive charged, Bora reported. Ready on your mark. Daejung looked around his bridge. These people had followed him through hell for months. They trusted him to keep them alive. Now he was taking them to coordinates that might lead to nothing. But what choice did they have? All hands brace for emergency jump, he announced over the ship-wide intercom. This is going to be rough. More Krell fire hammered their shields. The barrier finally failed and energy beams cut into the Indomitable's armor. Explosions rocked the ship. People screamed. Jump now, Daejung ordered. The universe twisted. Reality bent in ways that made no sense. The Indomitable vanished from the Arcturus system in a flash of blue-white light, leaving only debris and the victorious Krell fleet behind. In the command center of the Krell flagship, the alien commander clicked its mandibles in satisfaction. The last human warship was gone. Destroyed or fled, it didn't matter. Humanity was finished. The war was over. The Krell began to celebrate their victory, their clicking and chittering filling their ships. They had conquered another species. Soon this entire region of space would belong to the Dominion, but far away in a dead system where no stars shone, the Indomitable tumbled out of jump space. Sparks flew from broken consoles. Fires burned on 3 decks. 20 crew members were dead, crushed when the ship's artificial gravity failed during the violent jump. Daejung pulled himself up from the floor. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. Status report, he groaned. We made it, sir, Bora said, sounding surprised. We're at the coordinates, but sir, you need to see this. On the main screen, something massive appeared, a structure the size of a small moon, covered in lights and strange geometric patterns. And docked at its center was a ship. Not a human ship, not a Krell ship. Something else entirely. Something ancient, something powerful, something that had been waiting in the dark for a very long time. Daejung stared at it and whispered the words from the Admiral's message. Wake the sleeper. The Indomitable drifted closer to the massive structure, its damaged engines barely keeping them on course. Daejung stared at the screen, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The station was enormous, easily 100 kilometers across. Its surface was covered in patterns that hurt to look at for too long, lines and symbols that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. I'm picking up massive power readings, Jiwoo said, studying her instruments. Sir, this thing is still active. After who knows how many years, it's still running. Can you identify the power source? Daejung asked. No, sir. It's nothing like our reactors. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Kyung-Soo's voice came through the intercom, strained and tired. Commander, we have a problem. Actually, we have about 50 problems, but the biggest one is life support. We're losing atmosphere fast. I can patch the holes, but it's going to take time we might not have. How long can we survive? Maybe 20 hours if we're lucky. Less if we keep losing air at this rate. Daejung made a decision. Focus on keeping the crew alive, Kyung-Soo. Nothing else matters right now. Understood, sir. A woman appeared on the bridge, climbing up from the lower decks. She was young, maybe 30, with her hair tied back and dirt smudged on her face. Dr. Hae-Jin, the ship's xenoarchaeologist. Most people thought her job was useless on a warship, but Daejung had always valued her knowledge of ancient civilizations. Commander, I need to see that structure, she said without preamble. The symbols on its hull, they're similar to something I studied years ago. Markings found on dead worlds in the outer reach. The predecessor sites? Daejung had heard stories about them. Ruins scattered across the galaxy, left by a race that had vanished millions of years ago. Most scientists thought they were myths. They're real, sir. And if I'm right, that station out there was built by them. Hae-Jin pulled up images on her datapad, showing ancient carvings. Look at these patterns. They match what's on that structure almost exactly. Jiwoo whistled softly. So we found a predecessor base? That's impossible. They've been gone for millions of years. Their buildings remain, He-jin said, and apparently so do their machines. What about that ship? Dae-jung pointed at the massive vessel docked at the center of the station. It was dark, almost black, and shaped like a blade. Even from a distance, it looked deadly. Is that predecessor technology too? I think so. And I think it's the weapon Admiral Taemin mentioned in his message. The Indomitable's long-range sensors suddenly blared a warning. Bora's face went pale as she read the data. Commander, we have incoming ships. Multiple contacts jumping into the system. How many? Dae-jung felt his stomach drop. 12. All Krell signatures. They tracked us somehow, of course they did. The Krell hadn't survived for thousands of years by being stupid. They must have followed the Indomitable's jump trail. How long until they arrive? 6 hours, maybe 7. 6 hours. They had 6 hours before the Krell arrived to finish them off. The Indomitable couldn't fight. They had no weapons, failing shields, and a crew that was barely holding together. They couldn't run either. The ship had maybe one jump left in it, and that would probably tear them apart. Get me a channel to the entire crew, Dae-jung said quietly. When the channel opened, he chose his words carefully. This is Commander Dae-jung. I won't lie to you. The Krell found us. They'll be here in 6 hours, and our ship can't fight them. We can't run either. But we're not out of options yet. He paused, looking at the dark ship on the screen. Admiral Taemin sent us here for a reason. That station out there and that ship, they might be our only chance. I'm not ordering anyone to leave the Indomitable. But I'm asking for volunteers. We're going to board that alien vessel and see if we can make it work. The channel stayed silent for a moment. Then Kyung-soo's gruff voice came through. I'm in. If there's a reactor on that thing, I'll figure it out. I'll go too, Jiwoo said. Someone needs to handle weapon systems. Navigation, Bora added, though her voice shook. You'll need someone who can fly it. One by one, voices called in. Marines, engineers, medics, technicians. Within minutes, Dae-jung had 100 volunteers. Nearly the entire surviving crew. All right, he said, suit up. We launch in 30 minutes. The approach to the station was eerie. Their shuttle drifted through a debris field of ancient metal. Pieces of old ships or satellites that had long since stopped working. The station grew larger and larger until it filled their entire view. I'm detecting an opening, Bora said from the pilot's seat. Looks like a docking bay. It's big enough for our shuttle. Take us in. The bay was massive, easily large enough to hold 50 ships the size of the Indomitable. Their tiny shuttle looked like an insect flying into a cathedral. When they landed, the bay doors closed behind them automatically. Atmosphere hissed in, and lights flickered to life along the walls. It knows we're here, Hye-jin whispered. The station is responding to our presence. They exited the shuttle in full environment suits, not trusting the ancient atmosphere. The bay was clean, almost pristine, as if it had been waiting for them. Symbols glowed on the walls, pulsing softly. This way, Hye-jin said, following the lights. I think it's trying to guide us. They walked through corridors that were too large, built for beings much bigger than humans. The walls were smooth and dark, made of a material that felt warm to the touch. After 20 minutes of walking, they reached a massive chamber, and there it was. The ship. Up close, it was even more impressive. 15 kilometers long, covered in weapon ports and armor plates that looked thick enough to stop a nuclear blast. It sat in its cradle like a sleeping giant. Look at the size of those guns, Jiwoo breathed. Each one is bigger than our entire ship. A hologram suddenly appeared in front of them, making everyone jump. It was a figure, vaguely humanoid but taller, with features that were both familiar and alien. When it spoke, the words came out in a language that sounded like ancient Korean, so old that Hye-jin could barely understand it. The makers have fallen, the hologram said. The cycle continues. You are the chosen successors. The Worldbreaker awaits its new crew. Did it just say Worldbreaker? Kyung-soo asked. That's a hell of a name for a ship, the hologram continued. Authorization required. Provide genetic markers and command codes. Dae-jung stepped forward. He didn't know what to do, so he simply spoke. I'm Commander Dae-jung of the United Colonial Fleet. We're human. We need this ship to fight the Krell. The hologram paused, then reached out and touched his helmet. Light scanned him from head to toe. Genetic markers confirmed. You are inheritors. Command codes required. Command codes? Dae-jung thought back to the Admiral's message. Wake the sleeper. He said the words aloud, wake the sleeper. The chamber exploded with light. The dark ship began to glow, lines of red energy racing across its hull. Systems that had been dormant for millions of years hummed to life. The cradle holding the ship released with a deep boom that shook the entire station. "Access granted," the hologram said. "The Worldbreaker is yours. But be warned, this vessel was designed for war against enemies beyond your understanding. Use it wisely." The hologram faded. A ramp extended from the ship's side, an invitation. "Well," Jiwoo said, "I guess we're doing this." They started up the ramp when Bora's radio crackled. It was the crew back on the Indomitable. "Commander, the Krell fleet just accelerated. They'll be here in 2 hours, not 6. They know something's happening. 2 hours. They had 2 hours to figure out how to fly an alien warship millions of years old, or they would all die." Daijung looked at his crew. "Let's move. We have work to do." The inside of the Worldbreaker was like walking through a dream. Corridors stretched endlessly in every direction, their walls glowing with soft blue light. Everything was too big, built for creatures twice as tall as humans. The ceiling was so high above them that it disappeared into darkness. "Spread out and find key systems," Daejung ordered. "Kyungsoo, find the reactor. Jiwoo, weapons control. Bora, the bridge. Everyone else, map this place and report back." The crew scattered. Daejung moved forward with Hyejin, following symbols on the walls that seemed to pulse brighter when they approached. After climbing what felt like 100 stairs, they found it. The bridge, it was enormous. Screens covered every wall, currently dark but humming with potential. In the center was a command chair that looked more like a throne. But what caught Daejung's attention were the strange cables hanging from the ceiling, each one ending in a device that looked disturbingly medical. "What are those?" he asked. Hyejin studied them carefully. "Neural interfaces, I think. The predecessors didn't just fly this ship. They connected to it directly, made it an extension of their own minds. Can humans use them? I don't know. Our brains might not be compatible. It could be dangerous." She looked at him seriously. "It could kill you." Before Daejung could respond, Kyungsoo's voice crackled over the radio. "Commander, you need to hear this. I found the reactor room and it's insane. This thing generates more power than our entire home fleet combined. But there's a problem." "What problem?" "The reactor is active, but most of the ship's systems are locked. According to these displays, the Worldbreaker needs a crew of 10,000 to operate at full capacity. We have 143 people." Daejung closed his eyes. Of course it needed 10,000 crew members. Nothing could be simple. Jiwoo chimed in from somewhere else in the ship. "Weapons control here. Same issue. I'm looking at enough firepower to destroy a planet, but I can't access it without proper crew stations filled." "Wait," Hyejin said, touching the neural cables. "What if we don't need 10,000 people? What if we just need a few people connected directly to the ship? The neural interface might let a small crew control systems meant for thousands." "You just said it could kill us," Daejung reminded her. "It might, but we're dead anyway if we can't get this ship working in the next 2 hours." She was right. Daejung touched his radio. "All department heads report to the bridge. We're going to try something risky." 10 minutes later, his key officers stood in the bridge. Kyungsoo looked exhausted, his uniform stained with oil. Jiwoo's face was set in determination. Bora looked terrified but trying to hide it. A young Marine named Sung Ho stood at attention, representing the security teams. "Here's the situation," Daejung explained. "This ship needs neural interface operators. It's dangerous. Some of us might die trying, but it's our only chance. I won't order anyone to do this. I'm asking for volunteers." "I'll do it," Kyungsoo said immediately. "Someone needs to control the reactor." "I'm in," Jiwoo added. "I want to fire those big guns at the Krell." "Navigation," Bora said quietly. "I'll handle navigation." One by one, officers volunteered. 20 people in total, each willing to risk their lives to crew this ancient vessel. The process was terrifying. Each person sat in a chair while the neural cables attached to their heads. The ship's AI, speaking in that ancient language Hyejin barely understood, guided them through the connection process. Daejung went first. When the cables touched his head, pain exploded through his skull. It felt like his brain was being pulled apart and put back together. Information flooded his mind. Ship systems, weapon status, shield configurations, power distribution. Too much data. Way too much. He screamed and almost blacked out. But then suddenly it clicked. His consciousness expanded. He could feel the entire ship around him, every corridor, every system, every weapon. The Worldbreaker became an extension of his own body. "Commander?" Jiwoo's voice sounded distant. Are you okay? Daejung opened his eyes. His vision had changed. He could see in multiple spectrums at once, could sense the electromagnetic fields around him, could feel the life signs of every crew member aboard. I'm okay. I'm connected. Start the rest of the process. Over the next hour, they integrated 20 crew members into the ship's systems. 3 people died in the process, their brains unable to handle the neural load. Daejung felt each death like a knife to his heart, but they didn't have time to stop. When it was done, they had 17 people neural linked to the Worldbreaker. It wasn't 10,000, but it would have to be enough. Status report, Daejung said, his voice echoing strangely through the ship's systems. Reactor at 60% capacity, Kyung-soo reported. Through the neural link, Daejung could feel the engineer's consciousness merged with the massive power core. It's beautiful, sir. This thing runs on principles I don't understand, but I can feel how to control it. Weapons armed and ready, Jiwoo said. She sounded excited, almost giddy. Commander, these guns. They don't just shoot energy. They erase things from existence. I don't know how to explain it better than that. Navigation systems online, Bora added. This ship doesn't jump through space like our FTL drives. It bends space around itself. We could cross the entire galaxy in days. Attention, a voice suddenly announced. It was the crew still aboard the Indomitable. Krell fleet dropping out of FTL. 12 warships confirmed. They're powering weapons. We have maybe 10 minutes. All right, Daejung said. Time to see what this ship can do. Kyung-soo, bring the reactor to full power. Jiwoo, charge all weapons. Bora, take us out of this dock. The Worldbreaker responded to his thoughts as much as his words. Through the neural link, he felt the ship come alive. The reactor hummed louder. Shields flickered into existence around the massive hull, and the docking clamps released with a deep boom. Sir, the Indomitable, someone said. We can't just leave them. Daejung had already thought of that. Indomitable, this is Daejung. Abandon ship. I want everyone off that vessel and into the station in the next 5 minutes. Move. But sir, the ship is already dead, Daejung said firmly. You are not. Get to safety. That's an order. He felt the Worldbreaker moving now, sliding out of its ancient cradle like a whale rising from the depths. Through the ship's sensors, he could see everything. The station falling away behind them, the distant Krell fleet approaching, and the small, brave Indomitable still trying to protect them. Sir, the Krell are targeting us, Jiwoo reported. They're launching missiles. A lot of missiles. How many? 500 and counting. Through the neural link, Daejung accessed the point defense systems. They activated automatically, following his thoughts. Small turrets across the Worldbreaker's hull tracked the incoming missiles with perfect precision. The Krell missiles closed to within 1,000 kilometers. Then the point defense fired. It wasn't like human weapons. These guns shot so fast they seemed to create solid beams of light. In 3 seconds, all 500 missiles simply ceased to exist, torn apart by fire too quick for the eye to follow. Sir, the Indomitable is still there, Sung-ho said. The crew is evacuating, but they need more time. The Krell are closing in. Daejung made a decision. Bora, put us between the Indomitable and the Krell fleet. Jiwoo, prepare to fire. Sir, Jiwoo said, and he could feel her nervousness through the link. These weapons, they're powerful. I mean, really powerful. If I fire them at full strength, I know. Do it anyway. The Worldbreaker moved faster than something so large should be able to move. In seconds, they positioned themselves in front of the damaged human ship. The Krell fleet was visible now, 12 massive warships bearing down on them. The Krell fired everything they had. Plasma cannons, railguns, energy beams. The space between the fleets lit up with enough firepower to destroy a city. All of it splashed harmlessly against the Worldbreaker's shields. The ancient barriers didn't even flicker. Through the neural link, Daejung felt Jiwoo's finger on the trigger. Metaphorically speaking, there was no actual trigger. Just her will focused through the ship's systems. Target their lead ships, Daejung ordered. Fire. The main guns of the Worldbreaker fired for the first time in millions of years. The effect was instant and horrifying. 3 Krell battleships simply stopped existing. One moment they were there, solid and real. The next moment there was nothing. Not even debris. Just empty space where warships had been. The remaining Krell fleet stopped their advance. Through their communications, Daejung could hear alien voices screaming in confusion and fear. They're trying to retreat, Bora said. Don't let them. Daijung's voice was cold. These are the same Krell who destroyed Earth, who killed billions of humans. Let them feel what we felt, the Worldbreaker pursued. And in the darkness of that dead system, an ancient weapon showed the Krell Dominion what true power looked like. The battle lasted 17 minutes. It wasn't really a battle at all. It was an execution. The Krell warships tried to run, but the Worldbreaker was faster. Much faster. Bora guided the massive Dreadnought through space like it weighed nothing, cutting off escape routes and herding the enemy ships together. Firing main cannons, Jiwoo announced. Her voice carried a strange mix of excitement and horror through the neural link. 2 more Krell battleships vanished, just gone, erased from reality. The weapons weren't supposed to be possible. They didn't just destroy matter. They made it so the matter had never existed in the first place. Daejung could feel how they worked through the neural connection, though he couldn't explain it in words. Something about quantum probability and rewriting causality. Target the cruisers, he ordered. Don't let any of them escape. Smaller guns opened fire. Beams of crimson energy lanced out, cutting through Krell ships like they were made of paper. Their shields, so effective against human weapons, couldn't even slow the Worldbreaker's fire. 1 cruiser exploded. Another broke in half. A third simply went dark as its power core was pierced. Through the ship's sensors, Daijung could see the Krell crew abandoning ships, launching escape pods. Part of him wanted to destroy those too. After what the Krell had done to humanity, they deserved nothing but death. But he held back. Let 1 ship go, he said quietly. The smallest one. Sir? Jiwoo sounded confused. Let them escape. I want them to tell their leaders what happened here. I want every Krell in the galaxy to know what fear feels like. The battle ended. 11 Krell warships destroyed. 1 small frigate fled into FTL, carrying tales of terror back to the Dominion. The Worldbreaker hung in space, its hull glowing with barely contained power. Commander, we have a problem. It was Hai Jin speaking from the medical bay. 3 more crew members just collapsed. The neural interface is too much for human brains. We're not built to handle this much data flow. Daejung felt it too. His head throbbed with constant pain. Information kept flooding his mind, threatening to drown his consciousness. Through the link, he could sense the others struggling as well. Hyungsu's thoughts were fragmented. Bora was barely holding on. Even Jiwoo, who seemed to handle it best, was showing signs of mental strain. How long can we maintain the connection? He asked. I don't know. Hours, days, but not long. The predecessors were larger than humans, with more robust nervous systems. This ship was built for them, not for us. Can we rotate crew? Limit exposure? Maybe. If we take shifts, disconnect for recovery periods, we might survive longer. But the ship won't be at full power when people are offline. Daejung made the decision. Set up a rotation schedule. 6 hours connected, 6 hours off. We'll operate at reduced capacity, but at least we'll stay alive. Through the neural link, he felt agreement from the others. But then something else caught his attention. A signal coming from the salvaged Indomitable's long-range sensors. Sir, Sung-ho reported from the security station. You need to see this. The Krell fleet that escaped from Arcturus system. They've detected what happened here. They're transmitting to the Dominion homeworld. On the screens, Daejung watched intercepted Krell communications. Images of the Worldbreaker destroying their ships. Reports of a human superweapon. Panic spreading through their military channels. And then the response came. The Krell Empress herself issued an order, broadcast across every Dominion fleet. Find the human weapon. Destroy it at any cost. Dedicate all available forces. Humanity must be completely eliminated. How many ships are they sending? Daejung asked, though he already suspected the answer would be bad. All of them, sir. Sung-ho's voice was grim. Every Krell warship in the sector is being recalled. We're reading over 400 vessels converging on human space. They're going to glass every human colony, every station, everything. They want to make sure nothing survives. 400 ships. The Worldbreaker was powerful. But could it fight 400 enemy warships? And even if they could win, humanity's colonies would be destroyed in the process. Where are the Krell fleet staging? Daejung asked. They're gathering at the Dominion border near the Talus sector. It'll take them 3 days to assemble fully. Then another 2 days to reach human space. 5 days. They had 5 days before the Krell launched their final assault. Daejung disconnected from the neural interface. The sudden absence of ship data in his mind felt like losing a limb, but he needed to think clearly. He called a meeting of all senior officers in the mess hall. Everyone looked exhausted, their eyes haunted. "We can't defend all the colonies," Jiwoo said bluntly. "Even with the Worldbreaker, we're one ship against an armada. They'll split their forces and hit multiple targets. We can't be everywhere. So we run?" Kyung-soo slammed his fist on the table. "Let them murder more innocent people?" "I didn't say that," Jiwoo shot back. "I'm saying we need a better strategy than just reacting to their attacks." Daejung let them argue for a minute, then held up his hand for silence. "We don't defend. We attack." Everyone stared at him. "Sir?" Bora asked carefully. "The Krell are gathering at their border. Their homeworld will be less defended than usual. We take the Worldbreaker straight to Krell Prime and we end this war at its source." Silence fell over the room. What he was suggesting was insane. Attacking the Krell homeworld, the center of an empire that spanned 300 systems. It was suicide. "How many ships defend their homeworld?" Kyung-soo asked. "According to our intelligence, at least 200 at all times. Maybe more. 200 against one. I've faced worse odds." Jiwoo smiled grimly. "Actually, no, I haven't. This is crazy. Do we have a better option?" Daejung looked around the table. "If we wait for them to attack, humanity dies. Our colonies are defenseless. We have no fleet left. But if we strike at their heart, if we show them that even their homeworld isn't safe, maybe they'll pull back. Maybe they'll negotiate. Or maybe they'll just kill us and then destroy the colonies anyway," Sung-ho pointed out. "Maybe," Daejung admitted, "but at least we'll die fighting. At least we'll make them remember what it cost to go to war with humanity." Hyejin had been quiet throughout the discussion. Now she spoke up. "Commander, there's something you should know. I've been studying the predecessor records in the ship's database. They left messages, warnings about why they built weapons like the Worldbreaker. Why did they build it? To fight something called the Harvest, an ancient threat that consumed entire civilizations. The predecessors created weapons and seeded younger races with technology, hoping we'd be ready when the Harvest returned." "When does it return?" Daejung asked. "The records aren't clear. Maybe 1,000 years, maybe 10,000. But it's coming. And when it does, the galaxy will need defenders. The predecessors chose humanity for a reason. Not because we're the strongest, but because we don't give up. We unite people. We protect rather than destroy." She looked at Daejung seriously. "If we become genocidal conquerors, if we destroy the Krell homeworld and kill billions, we fail the test. We become no better than the Krell. We become useless as defenders." Her words hung in the air. Daejung thought about Earth burning. About the billions of humans already dead. About revenge and justice and the difference between the two. "Then we don't destroy their homeworld," he said finally. "We destroy their military. We show them power. We give them one chance to surrender. And if they refuse," he paused, "if they refuse, we do what we must. But we don't target civilians. We're better than that. The Krell won't show us the same mercy," Kyung-soo warned. "I know, but that's what makes us different. That's what makes us worth saving." He stood up, his decision made. "Rest up, everyone. In 6 hours we leave for Krell Prime. We're going to end this war one way or another." As the crew filed out, Jiwoo stayed behind. "Commander, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Are you scared?" Daejung thought about lying, about being the strong leader his crew needed. But Jiwoo deserved honesty. "Terrified. I'm scared we'll fail. Scared we'll all die. Scared that even if we win, I'm becoming something I don't recognize." "Good," Jiwoo said. "That means you're still human. The day you stop being scared is the day we should worry." She left him alone in the empty mess hall. Through the walls he could feel the Worldbreaker humming around him. A weapon of unimaginable power waiting to be unleashed. In 5 days, the galaxy would learn what happened when you pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. The Krell had made one fatal mistake. They had left survivors. And survivors were the most dangerous thing in the universe. The Worldbreaker cut through Krell space like a knife through flesh. It didn't hide. It didn't sneak. It announced itself at every military installation it passed, broadcasting a simple message in the Krell language. "Surrender or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to evacuate. Most fled. Some fought. Those who fought died." At the Krell naval base in the Torva system, 40 warships opened fire. The Worldbreaker destroyed 38 of them in 6 minutes. The remaining 2 surrendered, their crews abandoning ship as the massive Dreadnought passed by like a storm. At the Krell weapons facility on Mordranth 4, automated defense platforms tried to stop them. Jiwoo simply erased them from existence with the main cannons. The weapons that had built the Krell Empire were toys compared to predecessor technology, but each battle cost them. Daejung felt it through the neural link. His head throbbed constantly now. Blood leaked from his nose sometimes when he disconnected. Kyung-soo's hands shook. Bora could barely stand after her shifts. 3 more crew members had died from neural overload, their minds burning out trying to process too much information. They had started with 143 people, now they had 73, and they hadn't even reached Krell Prime yet. "Sir, we're approaching the homeworld," Bora announced, her voice strained. "Long-range sensors show 600 ships in orbit." They knew we were coming. 600. More than Daejung had expected. The Krell had recalled even more forces to defend their capital. Good. That meant fewer ships threatening human colonies. Through the neural link, he addressed the entire crew. "This is it. Everything we've done leads to this moment. I won't lie to you about the odds. We're probably going to die today, but we're going to make it count. We're going to show the entire galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night." He paused, feeling the exhaustion and fear of his crew, but also their determination, their courage. "I'm proud to serve with you all. Now let's finish this." The Worldbreaker dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Krell system. Immediately, sensors lit up with targets. 600 warships in defensive formation around the planet. Orbital defense platforms, weapon satellites, millions of Krell lives on the surface below. "Open a channel," Daejung ordered. "Broadcast to the entire system." When the channel opened, he chose his words carefully. "This is Commander Daejung of humanity aboard the Worldbreaker. The Krell Dominion has committed genocide against my people. You have destroyed our worlds, killed our families, and tried to erase us from existence. Now you will face judgment." He let that sink in. "I am offering you one chance. Stand down. Surrender your military. Accept peace terms. If you do this, your people will live. Your world will be spared. But if you fight, I will end your empire here and now." The response came quickly. It was the Krell Empress herself, speaking from her massive palace ship in orbit. Her voice was cold, clicking with insectoid fury. "You are a dead species trying to pretend you still matter. We do not negotiate with vermin. We do not surrender to apes. You want war? We will give you war. We will drown you in our numbers." "So be it," Daejung said quietly. He cut the channel. The Krell fleet advanced. 600 ships moving as one, a wall of steel and plasma fire. They opened fire from extreme range, thousands of weapons lighting up the darkness. "Shields holding," Kyung-soo reported. "They're not even straining the defensive systems." "Return fire," Daejung ordered. "Target weapons platforms first. Minimize casualties." The Worldbreaker's secondary weapons opened up. Beams of energy lanced out with surgical precision, destroying weapon emplacements on ships without annihilating the vessels themselves. It was harder than just erasing everything, but Daejung had meant what he said. They wouldn't become monsters, but the Krell kept coming. They threw ship after ship at the Dreadnought. Some tried ramming attacks. Others fired experimental weapons, things that warped space or generated artificial singularities. Nothing worked. The Worldbreaker had been built to fight civilizations far more advanced than the Krell. For 3 days, the battle raged. The Worldbreaker held its position, systematically dismantling the Krell fleet. Daejung rotated his crew in shifts, pushing them to their limits. Jiwoo fired until her vision blurred. Bora navigated through minefields and debris fields, her reflexes superhuman through the neural link. Kyung-soo kept the reactor running at levels that should have been impossible. And slowly, inevitably, the Krell fleet was destroyed. On the 3rd day, with half their fleet burning and their orbital defenses in ruins, the Krell tried one last desperate gambit. They activated their planetary shield, a barrier designed to protect their homeworld from any attack. "Sir, that shield is strong," Jiwoo reported. "It'll take our main cannon multiple shots to break through." "Then fire the main cannon," Daejung said. "Sir, if I do that..." Jiwoo's voice was uncertain. "The discharge might destabilize the planet's atmosphere. We could kill millions. Can you target the shield generators instead?" "I can try, but they're protected by secondary shields. It'll take time." "Do it." For 6 hours, Jiwoo carefully targeted each shield generator, firing with precision that would have been impossible for a human without the neural link. One by one, the generators failed. The planetary shield flickered and died. Krell Prime lay defenseless below them. "Sir, Sung-Ho said quietly. We have them. We can end this. One shot from the siege cannon would crack the planet's crust. The Krell would be finished. Daejung stared at the planet on his screens. Billions of Krell lived down there. Not just soldiers, civilians, children, families. They were his enemies, yes. Their empire had tried to exterminate humanity. But did that justify genocide? Through the neural link, he felt his crew's thoughts. Some wanted revenge. Others were uncertain. All of them were exhausted, broken, ready for it to end. Hye-jin, Daejung said. You studied the predecessors. What would they do? The doctor's voice was weak. She had been treating wounded crew members for days without rest. They would show mercy. They believed in protecting life, not destroying it. That's why they chose humanity. Because we could be better than our enemies, even after everything they did to us, especially after everything they did to us. If we become like them, then they've won. They've turned us into monsters. Daejung thought about Admiral Taemin dying to give humanity one last chance, about the thousands of crew members lost in the war, about Earth burning. Then he thought about what kind of galaxy he wanted to leave behind, what legacy humanity should have. He opened a channel to broadcast across all of Krell's space, to every world, every ship, every station in the Dominion. This is Commander Daejung. The Krell fleet is destroyed. Your homeworld is defenseless. I could end your species with one shot. He paused, letting that sink in. But I won't. Humanity is not your enemy. Your leaders made you our enemy. They chose genocide. We choose differently. From this day forward, the Krell Dominion is dissolved. Your military is disbanded. Any species that was under your rule is now free. You will be monitored. If you rebuild your war machine, if you threaten any other species, we will return. And next time there will be no mercy. But if you choose peace, humanity will not stand in your way. We will even help you rebuild if you accept our terms. Because we are better than you thought we were. We are better than you tried to make us, he cut the channel. Around him, his crew was silent. Sir, Jiwoo finally said. Was that the right choice? I don't know, Daejung admitted. Maybe history will judge us as fools. Maybe the Krell will rebuild and attack again. But at least we'll face that future knowing we didn't become the thing we hated. Over the next weeks, the Krell Empire collapsed. Without their military, without their empress who had been killed when her palace ship was destroyed, the Dominion fractured. Species that had been conquered for centuries claimed their independence. Some Krell worlds accepted human peace terms. Others fell into civil war. The Worldbreaker returned to human space where the scattered survivors of humanity's colonies were gathering. The ship became their guardian, a promise that humanity would never again be defenseless. But the cost had been terrible. Of the 143 crew members who had boarded the ancient Dreadnought, only 41 survived. The others had burned out their minds trying to control systems meant for beings far beyond human capacity. Commander Daejung was not among the survivors. His body gave out 6 days after the battle ended, his brain too damaged by the neural interface to recover. But before he died, he transferred command protocols to the surviving crew. Jiwoo became the new commander. Kyungsoo remained as chief engineer. Bora stayed as navigator. They buried Daejung in space, his body released into the void. At the funeral, Jiwoo spoke simply. He saved us, not just by winning the war, but by showing us how to win without losing ourselves. That's his real legacy. The Worldbreaker became humanity's shield. The forge was secured and engineers from a dozen freed species began studying predecessor technology. Hye-jin's discoveries were shared with anyone who would listen. The harvest was coming someday. The galaxy needed to be ready. Humanity had gone from the edge of extinction to becoming the guardians of known space, not through conquest but through sacrifice, not by destroying their enemies but by being better than their enemies.